The players are the most important thing for us. You know, we're not making this game for ourselves. We're making this game for the players. And if the players don't like it, then, well, what are we doing this for? You know? One of the things that we like to say here at Waystone Games is that we're sincere students of games. We want to respect our predecessors, the games that have come before us, especially in the genre that we're in, and to make a contribution to that. And part of the way that we're going to be making a contribution is by, you know, founding ourselves with a relationship with the players that is, you know, based on sincerity and honesty.
I don't think we really know what a perfect MOBA is yet, because we've seen a lot of similarities in design. And when I look at where MOBA is, it reminds me of where shooters were, kind of in the mid-90s, where there was a lot of recreation of design over and over again, and then the genre just exploded, and larger maps and larger team sizes and vehicles and verticality, all of these different dimensions came into gameplay, and I feel like that's where MOBA is right now.
To me, things that I'm interested in personally are accessibility of the genre, getting new people in. I'm really interested in how can lore be pulled into the genre more, and people are really invested, obviously, in MOBA characters, the gameplay, the look and feel of the characters. People get really passionate about that.
From the beginning, we said, the map itself has to have a story, right? As has been said often in a MOBA, the map is the mode. And in a way, the English major nerd in me, the map is also another character in the game, right? There's a lot of personality and attention that comes from what that map allows you to do. And so we said we need to have a fictional conceit for what this map is.
I'm also interested in some of the RTS roots of MOBAs. And in our game, we have economy nodes and territory control gameplay that's a little bit different than other MOBAs. Still trying to keep the core of what's fun about a MOBA.
So the Spirit Wells are one of our biggest additions to the core gameplay of a MOBA. What they are is their economy objectives. So their only purpose in life is to provide income to your team. The way that they function is they're a spot on the map where over time, if your team controls it, it'll automatically create workers for your team. These workers will harvest Vim, which is the kind of vitality that shapers use in our game to increase their power to buy items. So these workers, they go back and forth automatically, no micromanagement necessary. They collect Vim for your team. Enemies can wipe them out, can kind of do economy line harassment. They can wipe them out, gives them some bounty. It also lowers your team's economy generation if that happens. Additionally, if your team is able to control that region for a long enough period of time, it'll actually flip control of that Spirit Well. It'll turn it to your team, and then your team will start to generate workers there.
So you'll head out into your lanes, your minion lines will head on down, and those bindings, those towers will at first play a very familiar role. They're just kind of your hard fallback point, right? I know I'm safe underneath my binding. But the bindings in Dawngate also serve the purpose of acting as an inhibitor that's out in the field as well. So if you take down my binding, we've got these guys in the lane called striders. When you start the game out, they're kind of constrained and they've got this key wedged in their back and they've got these ropes around them. Well, if you take out one of my bindings, he evolves into his second stage and that key gets ripped out of him, right? And all of this connects to the lore in a pretty cool and meaningful way. But from a gameplay standpoint, you just not only nuked a tower, but you also nuked effectively like a third of an inhibitor, right? So that lane is starting to push. When that strider powers up, he gains an additional ability. Another key aspect of the bindings is they're all being kind of powered by the base, by your base back at home. And so when you take one down, you'll notice that this line of energy goes boom, just kind of disappears, and then slowly starts to come back. And it's just an example, going back to the notion of accessibility, some diagenic UI. We're trying to get UI into the map so that you can see what's going on, because that binding is actually going to respawn. And so you'll see that line of energy coming back in the map, and then there's about a 30-second timer that plays an animation. The binding starts to come back together so that if you as an enemy are fighting right there, you see this thing start to reconstruct itself, and like, okay, gameplay-wise, I got this long, and I got to get the hell out of here before this thing starts pounding on me again.
We wanted the ability for people to feel like if we can just turtle up, we can just hold out for it just a little bit longer, then we'll start to be back into this game. Because as bindings come back, your striders get, or the enemy striders get progressively weaker as it's kind of sucking the empowerment back out of them into your bindings, kind of keeping them bound, so to speak, right?
Basically, what the map is a giant circuit, and each team is trying to complete the circuit in their direction so they can pull the spirit energy, and that's the reward you get for winning the map. You know, what we want to do beyond the map is actually bring the community in to the shapers themselves and the unfolding stories of the shapers themselves.
I think esports is an interesting, subject. We are not. You can't buy your way into esports. It needs to be something that the players want. And I've talked, a bit about accessibility. We've always made every design decision with esports viability in mind, right? And that's like no randomness, none of these things that don't allow your game to become an esport.
We're all about fostering that positive relationship and creating an environment of collaboration with the players. We plan on live streaming our game on our own official channel from almost day one. We're going to talk very openly about what we're working on in the beta. If it's in the beta, we're good to talk about it. Our beta starts on Friday, May 24th, and you can sign up at www.waystonegames.com.